Hello, good evening, everyone. Myself is Sambal. I am looking after partner channel operation Spoors. Uh, I am looking after the partner channel operations in Spoors, and I am also here with me our CEO, Mr. Ramakrishna Reddy, and our head of client success, Mr. Sridhar Kumar. And we are going to address the topic, the power of no code for BFSI and NBFC today, which would be, we're talking about the streamlining operations and driving growth using our use cases. So my first question would be to Ram. Ram, why no-code technology is a big thing for financial organizations, and how to choose the best fit no-code platform to build business resilience and agility both now and the beyond?
So why no-code technology is the next big thing for financial organizations? Um, just to give a background about financial organizations, most of the finance organizations, whether it's banks, microfinance, non-banking finance corporations, all of these comes under the gamut of Reserve Bank of India or some banks across the world. And these bodies which drive the compliances of these financial institutions do come up with a lot of checks and balances to ensure there is no fraud, ensure there is compliances to financial filings and all that kind of stuff. So because these are governed by these external bodies, there's a and as as these compliances keep increasing, there are new processes that comes into existence, and these financial institutions have to comply with these processes within very quick time. Now, most of the time, the challenge for these uh, financial institutions is to have technology adapt as quickly as possible to these changes that happen, with the changes that are implemented or asked to implement by these financial institutions, which is these bodies that exist across the world. So for financial institutions, if they don't comply, there's a lot of penalties, huge restrictions that come in place because of these aspects and these processes. They don't have control, and it is governed by third party institutions like RBI, or World Bank and stuff like that, right? Because of these things, they have to adapt to these processes very quickly. Now, in traditional development process, what happens is every time there's a change that needs to be implemented, they have to go through a huge development cycle, which includes cost, and which includes also time. That's the reason why they take a lot of time to deploy. As part of it, there is a lot of revenue loss leakage because the more time you take to comply to these guidelines, the more time you don't have technology adapting to the situations, the more you lose money, right? In order to control compliance, loss of revenue, and also make sure their collections or quick closures of loan happens, technology plays a big part. And because of ever changing guidelines, there is a need for modifying this process very quickly. Because of this need, you need tools like a no code platform where, as and when these policy changes happen, you can quickly adapt to those changes. Now, for example, one of our customer, we have like a couple of customers, and you guys all know the demonetization that happened a few years back, and all of a sudden, 500 rupees notes, 1,000 rupees notes were taken out of the market. And you had to only collect cash in 100 rupees, right? This change, a lot of companies took 2 to 3 months and they struggled for revenue. But our customers, because they were using a no-code platform like Effort, they could change it in 20 minutes. In fact, the notification happened today. By next day, they were compliant and only collecting 100 rupees notes and not doing 500 or 1000, right? This was only possible because no code tools like Effort helps them to change these configurations on the fly and quickly implement and adapt these process changes instantly, right? So that's the beauty of a no code platform. And I think because finance is, and with the evolution, the software has to evolve and make it very compliant quickly. Hence, no code platform will build that the business resilience and also gives the much needed agility for the financial industries.
Thank you, Ram. My next question to Ram again. How major no-code market trends and technology can help banks and financial institutions increase speed to value and ROI?
So, like I said in my previous conversation, these financial institutions have to adapt changes very quickly. Example, with technology, with just, if you see the margins for these financial institutions are going down, so their operational costs have to really come down, right? Now the reason the interest rates are going down, and then the amount of margins that they can have are significantly less, and the delinquent accounts or people who don't pay on time, all of these things compound to the problems that for these financial institutions. So the tools like no code tools helps them to quickly acquire customers. One, because you can now leverage a process from all the way from sourcing to sanction instantly, where it ensures, even in rural areas, because tools like ours work offline, enables them to quickly collect the loan data, check with Sibyl, check with Vahan, check with a lot of other tools, and ensure that the loan is processed very quickly within 24 hours. At the same time, tools like the no-code tools like this enforces not to take shortcuts just to give it in 24 hours, because the tool gives the ability to connect to various systems, get all this information instantly. It enables these guys to make a decision very quickly. So that's one thing. And then they also have multiple processes, like sourcing to sanction is one thing. Then you have collections, deposits, settlements. Then you have audits. Now you can't keep investing in multiple tools. For each of them a different tool. That means your cost goes higher. The moment your cost goes higher, your margins come down, right? Now tools like no-code tools like Effort helps you to get all of these processes in one place without having to spend additional extra money, because nowadays you don't have different teams for doing loan sourcing, collection, or verifications, or in fact settlements, right? You have to have the same person do all of these things, because in order to improve your margins, your operational cost has to be down. You can't have 4 different people for 4 different processes, and you can't have 4 different tools for 4 different people. So hence, because one person is doing all of these things, you need to have one tool that can support these things, and nothing like a no code platform which can support all the process to build instantly and start deploying and used and get all the money you want. All the savings you would want, or you would ideally like to have, right? So that's what I think. No code is like a blessing for these people, because it gives the agility, it gives the ability to comply to all the changes that happen from this financial regulators, all of these things, and in turn helps you to save a lot of cost by reducing your NPAs, and risk that is involved in doing cash collections and stuff like that.
Thanks for your input, Sam. Let's move on. So I have the third question for today. It is to Sridhar. What are the key use cases of no-code in banking, financial services, and insurance enterprises from customer experience, ecosystem enablement, and internal agility standpoint?
Thanks for Ram. Ram has already given the background about it. But if you are looking from the use cases perspective, the best part with low-code platform like Effort is you can quickly configure any kind of work process, be it complex or a normal element also. But when it comes from the use cases perspective, there are a lot of use cases that can be used in any BFSI and NBFC environments, right from loan management. When I say loan management, it starts with loan origination, followed by the background verifications, followed by the background verification could be from multiple data sources. It could be from CIBIL or probe or deduplication of that particular customer, so that that can be validated first, and also the physical verification can also happen. Subsequently, in Effort we have the rule engine that has been built, which is very effective. So what it does is, based on all this information, there is no manual intervention. It will actually clearly indicate based on the rules what is the loan that can be sanctioned based on the risk containment assessments, right? Which is very, very essential for any BFSI or NBFC to take some sort of decisions. And underwriting is another element. Based on all this data, the underwriting team can actually take a decision what could be the potential loan that can be provided to that particular person. Based on that, based on the amount also, we can actually segregate the approval processes, which is very, very essential. So there is no manual intervention depending on the amount that has been sanctioned, right? It can go to a group or it can go to other element. But that is one part of it that I'm saying, which is like loan and lending management. The other part is one of the biggest challenge that BFSI or NBFC has is collections and deposits. Because what happens is, if there is no controls, because as per the RBI guidelines, or if it is US, it is Federal Reserve banks, these BFSI and NBFC are closely monitored and managed by these regulatories, which are evolving. Okay, the policies change, the procedures have to be immediately get affected for these organizations. So a lot of times what happens is, when it comes to collections and deposits, right, if you don't have a certain control mechanism, people can siphon away with money. That is the biggest challenge that this particular sector has, which is what we can actually leverage on our Effort platform, which we have done for many enterprise financial institutes, right? Then apart from that, we can actually look at claims and settlement process, which is another biggest challenge that these people are going through because of the policy change and everything. The other element is the insurance related aspects, like there is a lot of process that is involved if you are trying to apply for insurance, to processing all that stuff. And the best part in Effort that people can leverage is the notifications, which means once the insurance is getting closer to to that particular date, the notifications can go, which can actually help the customers to renew their insurance, right? And the background verification is another key area for them, because any consumer that is coming, they have to do a lot of background verifications, physical verifications, and all that stuff. Then the other element, another use case, which is very, very interesting, because these, as I mentioned, these are closely governed by the regulatory regulatory aspects. So RCU, risk containment unit, is one of the key elements for them in any financial institutes. So all the internal audits and everything has to be properly documented, and all the proofs has to be collected, right? And all this data has to be stored, which should be actually showcased when there is an external auditor who is coming. It could be from RBI or any other institute. So that is another element. The other element is because it's vast, right? Especially the enterprise institutes, right? There are a lot of integrations they will be looking at while the loan processing is happened. Again, once the loan is disbursed, right, the EMIs has to be properly calculated. The interest for the EMI defaulters and everything has to be properly calculated. That is one element that can be actually leveraged on low-code platform, because if they have to actually create this, it will take a lot of time. If they have to undergo the SDLC process, because a lot of security related aspects, everything has to be taken into consideration. Yeah, and the other part is the approval process, which I already mentioned. It can be rule-based approval process, or it can be straightforward approval process, right? Depending on the amount, we can actually route, which is like 4 or 5 days of job for us. That is the best part. While people can adapt to low-code platform.
Thank you, Sridhar. Let's move on. My next question to you again, Sridhar. How banking and financial enterprises are adopting no-code technology today, and what are the key features of no-code platform? Can you take us through a step-by-step adoption journey?
Yeah, sure. Before I take you to the process of how this adoption happens, but predominantly why people are looking for low-code platforms is only because of speed and agility, because of the changing policies, processes, and so forth. They can quickly adopt and they can quickly roll out their internal processes. The other element is it's low maintenance, because if you have seen, Gartner has clearly mentioned in the last year report that any BFSI and NBFC, what they're going through is 30 to 40% is IT shadowing, which means there is a lot of duplication, a lot of redundancy, maintenance cost is much higher. So there is a possibility of saving at least 40% of their cost. That is where this low-code platform, these platforms can actually help them in quickly adapting this. The other element which I just want to mention is rather than they investing too much of time in building these products, right, and following up, because the business, they have to actually focus on the business rather than the product development and all that stuff. People are actually changing a lot of things. So while in low code, what they can do, they can actually focus more on their business growth, where we can quickly roll out all the processes that they are looking at, and obviously the maintenance cost, which I already mentioned, and as Ram mentioned, online and offline, because a lot of these BFSI and NBFC, they work in rural areas. Sometimes they may not have internet connectivity and everything. That is where this capability is going to drastically support them, right? And the other element is the seamless customer onboarding, because what happens is it is an omni-channel sources from where they get these leads, which is consumers, right? It could be from their website, it could be from their in-app applications that they would have already rolled out, right? It could be from another agencies, right? All these things can actually come into one umbrella, which is like the moment there is a lead generated, the entire work processes end to end becomes seamless, because they can quickly adapt to all these aspects. The last one, the last thing that I just want to mention is in this low-code platform, why people are adopting to it is more about the ease of use, because you don't need any tech-savvy guy. It's like any business guy who understands, what exactly he wants. He can quickly go and configure and roll out instantly, right? One of the examples that I just want to mention to you is we just onboarded some time back one of the big financial institute in India. They were, everywhere it was paper work for them. It was taking a lot of time, which is like, usually they are into lending management, right? Large corporate lending management. So most often what is happening is, first collecting the customer information, then processing it. A lot of papers have to be collected. Then they have to do a lot of processes, background verifications, and everything, including his CIBIL scores and everything. And then it has to undergo the approval processes at a various level. So what we have done is within 2 months we just transformed everything. Okay, and we completely digitized, not only digitized, but also automated the entire process for them, which essentially means the customer, their customers' benefit was they could able to process this entire element within a week. Earlier it was taking more than 45 days or 2 months for them. Okay, and we just crunched everything, and within 1 week they could actually process their loans, which essentially means their business expanded much higher, and the customer satisfaction increased more than anything else.
Cool. I think I would want to add few more things, just to give a perspective from the finance organizations, right? I think number one is also mobility, where people could, instead of you going to a branch, you would want your teams to go to their houses or to their places to really do load applications or do collections. Number one is mobility. Number two is giving receipting, right? We do have features where we integrate with Bluetooth printers, where people can issue offline receipts, physical paper receipts. Very important, especially if you're working with rural areas, because they believe in physical receipt rather than actually an SMS or an email comes in, because people think SMS is a fraud, right? Number three is actually security, right? Because you do a lot of cash collection data offline, people would want a lot of mobile application restrictions, right? Because most of these guys want support for various mobile devices. For example, a customer of ours uses almost 680 unique devices, right? And the software needs to work on all devices, and they call it as BYOD, bring your own device. The moment you do bring your own device, security becomes a very, very critical feature, where it gives restrictions like encryption of data, auto wipe data if people are not connecting to the system, and disable some key functionalities so that they can't like copy, paste, and all that kind of stuff, right? Now, some of these features seems to be trivial, but these are very critical when it comes to financial institutions, because compliance is very important. And then the last but not least is making, connecting with payment gateways, right? You have to give the ability to people for making payments, not just with cash, but also through UPI, credit card, devices like swipe device, like Easy Tap and stuff like that, which helps speed up the collections and enables them to give multiple options to the customers, whether in whatever way, so that there is no excuse to the customer that, hey, the credit card is not working, cash is not there, or whatever, right? Now, all of these other features are very, very important from making it very easy for these agents to do their job, and very quickly.
Thank you, Ram, for the insights. Thank you, Sridhar, as well, for your thoughts. So we can take the questions now. So can shoot your questions.
Yeah, so this is Hassan this side. Thanks a lot. I think that was very insightful on what effort can do. Now I understand as NBFCs and BFSIs, they have a lot of data that comes in, right? I wanted to understand more towards the data security perspective on how this data is being secured. Because I understand because these are some this is some customer related data that is available, and it should not be misused because that could also affect the loyalty of the customer. So how does that work with effort?
Sridhar, you want to take this question or you want me to take it?
Yeah, first and foremost thing, there is a lot of controls which are in place from the data security perspective because we are ISO 27001 compliance organization. And over and above, we use a lot of security related aspects. We don't, every customer, whatever data that we store, these are completely secured because nobody will have access, including the internal team members, except one or two persons who has authority to access the data. And the entire data is, secured from customer to customer. So there are a lot of elements that we have put in place from the data security perspective. And Ram, you can add just in case.
Yeah, so good question, Hassan. I mean, especially for finance, security, I think, is paramount. Like Sridhar said, some things that we do is, we go through security compliance through ISO 27000 certification. Then we have a third-party security organization auditing every 6 months, primarily both penetration testing as well as application threat testing is done on a regular basis to ensure that the data. Besides that, most of these tools should they have ability to ensure the data stored at rest is encrypted. Second, you use secure channels to communicate data between the servers and the mobile device, which is at least 256-bit encryption is something you should look at. Thirdly, this is just a channel of communication between the server and the client. And at a client, because it's an offline data, you need a lot more controls, right? There's something called MAM, mobile application management, where if the app doesn't open for a certain amount of time, the app shuts down. Then you have mobile pins where the pin dynamically changes so that nobody else logs in into the app. Like I said, we have a self-destruction app, which if it doesn't sync, it completely wipes off the data locally. You have restrictions of copy paste so that the data doesn't get transmitted easily. Then we have restrictions at collections itself. Like for instance, if somebody's already collected 2 lakh rupees, you don't allow them to issue any more receipts, so that there is not much fraud. We also have ability for the moment somebody makes a collection, and if there is no internet connectivity, an SMS goes and sits as a record, and it is reconciled at a later point of time. So there are a lot of security. And then the entire data on the mobile device is stored in a local workspace, and is also used SQLite cipher type of capability, so that the entire file is encrypted. There are provisions where if you are using apps, you can restrict apps to be used if you're using this app. Plus, you also have a lot of capabilities in terms of restrictions at that level, so that there is no room for these employees to play around with this data.
There is a question from Yogesh Dixit. What he's saying is how these tools user-friendly with external data, database tools, and security point of view. he's asking from the integration point of view, basically.
From an integration standpoint, also, we communicate with this integration with secure channels like HTTPS. Then we also do authentication mechanisms like you use either OAuth or single or JWT token and stuff like that to ensure the data is not accessible, especially from an integration standpoint. It's not accessible to everyone. Plus, there is there's a separate key generated for you. So there's multiple levels of security, especially when you're integrating with our system and pulling the data. And you can also ask different formats and all that stuff. So all of these things are already taken care as part of the platform capability.
You can raise your hand. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Yogesh. There's a question from Hassan. He raised his hand. Hassan, do you have any question?
Yeah, thanks. So my another question was related to, so you have mentioned that there could be a loan generation that is done from that can be done from the effort platform, right? Now, when these documents are being collected, as let's say PAN card or other card, is there a capability where it masks these details so that it is not misused?
Yeah, there is the capabilities available, because whatever data, especially if you are talking about the identity related aspects, right, Mr. Hassan?
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, these are completely encrypted in the database itself, which essentially means an example I just want to give. If you are actually capturing Aadhaar card, the way we actually store in our databases is in an encrypted fashion, so that it cannot be seen, especially only when it is actually showing in the front end. That is where it gets automatically decrypted. That is point number one. Number two, masking is also available because as per the UDAI rules and regulations, we are not supposed to expose the entire Aadhaar card details. So what we do is we actually mask everything, and only the last 4 digits will be visible in the future also.
Yeah, so I think to add to Sridhar's point, the tool itself has these OCR capability where it can auto mask if you just upload an image into the platform. It can auto mask the digits, like just the compliance, like where you have to mask 5 or 6 digits so that it's not accessible. And get stored instantly, right? In fact, a lot of customers, they actually mask lakhs of these Aadhaar cards, and we have a AI ML tool which, if you pass these, whether it is Aadhaar, PAN, or any ID card, it auto detects the type of the ID card and also masks whatever you want, what data you want, and store only only the masked data rather than actually exposing the actual characters of these ID cards, right? So there are controls of that sort as part of the platform already built in.
Great. I think that's all from my side. If I have anything, I will raise my hand.
Thank you, Ram, and thank you, Sridhar. Any further questions, please?
Okay, looks like there are no questions, so we can move forward.
Thank you so much. Yes, there are no further questions. So thank you so much for joining today, and it was a pleasure having you here in our third webinar. So look forward to see you all in the next session of the webinars. And most importantly, you should go to our website and try the trial for 14 days, and we would be happy to help you with that. So thank you, Sridhar. Thank you, Ram. Thank you, all others. We conclude here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all. Thanks for your time.
Thank you all the audiences. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.